Which one of you first saw what U2 might become?
I don't think either of us really saw it. I mean, there was a huge amount of confidence when you're a teenager, I suppose.
Front is another word for that.
Yeah.
Front man.
Yeah.
Front. More front than
Yeah.
substance. And faith, I would say. Whatever we hadn't got, and that was a lot, the thing that we did have was extraordinary. And there was an expression our mate Carmo Dog says, you know, we're going to see bands, he'd say, oh, they've got everything but it.
Interesting.
We only had it. We didn't have anything else. That we had the chemistry, the spark, and I felt it. I must say early on. I mean, Ali, what's so extraordinary is Ali's going to the gigs now of our son at exactly the same level.
Yeah.
You know,
40 years after you did played the same places.
Same places, same clubs, empty clubs. But we played them like they were stadiums. You know, U2, we played it like it was Madison Square Gardens. You know, that was our thing.
Another thing that you wrote, Bono, rather than falling in love, we were climbing up toward it. We still are.
Yeah. Our relationship began with, of course, the obvious, you know, romance and flirtation, but it quickly moved into friendship. And I think that's a real part of who we are. She is a not just a mystery to me, by the way, she's a mystery to her sons, her daughters. We're all in the queue trying to get time with her because she's very wise. And
Why do you say, what do you think he means when he says you're a mystery?
I don't know.
she's a mystery wrapped in a paradox. Yeah, yeah, I've spent 40 years trying to get to know her, really, and I've got a long way to go. But you allowed me to do a sort of free dive into the depths of our relationship, but you didn't want me to stay too long. And the book is not a confessional. It's more. It's deeper than that. I think it's more anatomical. You know, it's real detail. There are moments of real intimacy. But I thought it was important to never do you the disservice of being sentimental. Like Ali would hate if I wrote a sentimental song about her. She'd be like, ugh.
But you did write a song.
The Bed of Nails?
No, I think that wasn't you.
I just thought it was the sweetest thing.
Even that had a bit of sour, but it's kind of the music that you're attracted to as well. I loved, you know, Roy Orbison, those dark, mysterious love songs that are tormented and tortured, and that's the kind of music we liked. And Ali just didn't like being in any way put on a pedestal. And the most important line that you said to me years ago, which was, don't look up at me or down at me, look across at me, I'm there.
But exploring that is so interesting. You just want to be treated as an equal.
Yeah, well, I think that's really important in every relationship, is that we all respect each other and, you know, also not be possessive. It's really important to give each other space. And sometimes, yeah, I do feel that maybe, you know, there's a little bit of, we both put each other a bit on a pedestal and sometimes under a pedestal, but it's just that keeping the balance and, you know, always holding on to the truth of each other. And one of his jokes is, and it's kind of the essence of living in Ireland, he says, I have 2 words for you. Keep it real. And it's
Sacha Baron Cohen line, actually.
That's where, you know,
2 words. Keep it real.
that's true, it is.
It's simple. 2 words. Keep it real.
I have to ask you about Mikhail Gorbachev.
Oh, what an amazing man. He was my hero, you know, and one day we had a lot of action in the house, a lot of people coming and going, And I had John, who was just a little baby, and the doorbell went. And I went up and I opened the door, and Bono had forgotten to tell me. I had no idea Mikhail Gorbachev was even in the country, but he was standing at the door with the largest teddy bear as a gift for John, with no words of English. And I just thought, I think we were 26 years married. I thought, if I was married to Bono for anything, it's this moment, opening the door to Mikhail Gorbachev, and just completely unexpected.
Ali runs this project called the Chernobyl Children's
International
Project, and this is an amazing moment because Mikhail Gorbachev is sitting at our kitchen table, and we're asking him, you know, all the questions you'd want to ask a man with his finger on the nuclear option. Would you ever use it? Could you ever use it? No. Do you believe in God? No. But I believe in the universe. Beautiful, poetic figure. And then this kid walks in called Anna, who's your godchild, who is adopted from, is it Belarus or are you
From Belarus.
Belarus,
She came
yeah.
from Belarus, yeah.
And she just walks in on calipers, and she's big Cork accent. God damn, all like this. And the former president of the Soviet Union just looks over. He doesn't know. She's a kid, and he picks her up. Oh, sit down. And all of us just froze as we realized what was happening in front of us. And Ali then explained to President Gorbachev that about Ukraine and the Chernobyl reactor breaking down, and that the parents of Anna had problems. And then in our kitchen, he said, it's over for us in the Soviet Union if we can't control something as powerful as nuclear power.
With Chernobyl.
He said, this was the moment I understood that the Soviet Union was no longer a going concern. He told us in a kitchen. There was some whiskey involved, by the way.
Yeah.
And a translator, a wonderful woman,
Thankfully. Right.
who made it, you know, and maybe the whiskey helped, but, you know, when you do this all the time, talking to foreign leaders, but it was as if we talked about everything.
But you write, I mean, of all the people in the world that you have met, which is just about everybody, that he's the most transformational.
Yeah. I would say that the two extraordinary moments that defined my life so far was seeing a man walk on the moon.
It's one small step for man.
And then seeing this extraordinary man give Russia back to the Russians. And though, you know, Vladimir Putin would like to sort of drop down the digital blinds and pretend that didn't happen, somebody who believed in freedom and was moved by his conscience to change the world in an extraordinary way.
Yeah.
And we really need to acknowledge that there are very few of that stature around.
Thanks, darling.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
What would you say were the turning points for the band? Because you talk about that through the book and some of the ups and downs, and which are natural. Obviously, the fact that you guys have been together for so long is just incredible. But what would you describe as some of the turning points for the band?
Religion is a very divisive thing. Religion not just divides people against people who don't believe, but it divides people who do with others who have slightly different opinions. I mean, it's absurd, largely. But in our band, when we were at Mount Temple, it was a non-denominational school. So Ireland was dividing along sectarian lines. A civil war was a potentiality at any minute. And here is this non-denominational school, and then we end up, all of us from our different faiths, having this kind of feeling that we wanted to be part of faith. And it was kind of more of a radical Christianity that we ended up in. And it was so strong that at one point, Edge was going, I'm not sure I can go ahead with music. I mean, if the world is such a broken place, and we all have a job in trying to fix it, I don't know if I can fix it by being in U2. So he left the band. And Edge, who's not a bombastic man, you know, guitar genius and a very thoughtful person, the Zen Presbyterian we call him, he was still feeling odd about it, and he was just, I don't know if I still want to be in the band. What purpose can music, what's the purpose? The world is, in flames. And what are we doing here? We're just pouring, petrol on the flames, or what are we going to do? Edge started work on a song called Sunday Bloody Sunday. And that's what unlocked it for him. And that kind of unlocked it for us, because we realized that our songs can speak into a situation and perhaps be useful. They don't have to be utility, but they can be.
So in some ways, faith, or this particular religious group that you were a part of at the time, nearly tore the band apart. But at the same time, in the searching within your band about what faith meant to you, led you to your band's ultimate purpose.
Yeah, that's right. In giving up the band, we kind of got it back. It's all very Abrahamic.
Yeah.
But we didn't lose our faith either. Yeah. It's not like we said, we've grown up out of that. That was a bit mad. It was a bit mad. But actually, the scriptures, the sacred texts are still very important to me and very important to the band.
I mean, you talk about faith a lot, but are you religious?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm finding myself, as I get older, slipping into St. Patrick's Cathedral if I'm in New York for a moment. I don't particularly care what religion it is. I'll go anywhere. I'm like a stray dog in religion. I'd go turn up a Catholic church. I'd turn up anywhere. I'd be in a synagogue. So if somebody said right now, here, somebody said, would you give your life to Jesus? Somebody just shout, I'd be me. I take God with me wherever I'm going. And so God has seen me in a bit of a state, I'm sure. I'm irreligious as well as religious, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I was going to interview the Pope. And I did actually ask him a few questions for U2’s radio series. And my last question, is the Pope Catholic? That's a great question, isn't it? Because I'm not sure.
Let me guess what he said.
He's very radical, this dude. I really like him.
The band will put out another album?
Oh, yeah. We're about to make a very special album, because even though we've experimented with different forms, songwriting, dance music, in the end, we're a rock and roll band. And there's not many rock and roll bands around. We're going to make a full tilt rock and roll album. And yes.
And when might we hear it?
Well, it will have to live up to my hype there before you do. We've got some great songs in us and some great shows to play, and that's the thing where U2 always come alive, is in front of our audience.